a VR story this week, and a very big VR story. Of course, I hinted to it before. Sony has officially confirmed information on the PSVR 2 or whatever it'll be titled when it releases, and information on the controllers. So, in a blogged post, so hold on, I just want a quick story to set this up. Right, I'm laying in bed. It's about 1 a.m. I'm doing my last scroll before Twitter before I was going to roll over, pull out my iPad, and read something before going to bed. I do my last scroll Twitter. I see this pop up. I read it. I'm like, fuck, that's exciting. God damn it. So I roll out of bed, write up this fucking news story. I'm like, anyway, so I didn't read comics that night because I was too tired by the time I got back to bed. Anyway, PlayStation has officially announced that the next generation VR, PSVR 2, was never officially used in the blog post. But of course, it's easier just to say PSVR 2. It will be coming to the PS5. In the blog post, Tadaaki Nishino states that the headset won't be coming in 2021 either, but sounds like we'll see it with the 2022 release. The way, because they're talking about it, they said it is a thing, it exists. We're not talking about, probably not going to talk, it's not coming this year. However, they did say that dev kits were going out like now. Like dev kits were heading out to developers now. And I guess that's why the blog post went up, because if they were sending out dev kits, like mailing them out that day, then they didn't want that information to just leak when someone leaks a picture of a PSVR 2 dev kit or something like that. So instead, they just get ahead of the news cycle. They announce it, they send out the dev kits, and then, like, I'm sure a picture of the dev kit will leak nonetheless, but it's not going to be like a, oh my God, what does this mean? You know, because they kind of got ahead of the narrative. So the upgrades in the next generation of PlayStation VR will be massive. The headset will include improved resolution, field of view, tracking, and most excitingly, will use a single cord to connect to your PS5 for ease of use and quick plug and play, I presume. So I'm thinking, they never said anything about the camera in this, so I'm thinking the camera's actually gone, and thank God. And they don't need the camera. Like, if you're looking at an Oculus or anything like that, any of these other headsets, the need of a camera to track lights, that's like, we're well past that point. It's using completely different technology and stuff now. So I'm going to presume / hope that the PSVR 2 is using similar stuff. And the fact that they're saying it's one cord plug and play, I think that's perfect. Oof. I think is kind of going to be a game changer for a lot of people who maybe would have played their PSVR currents more if it was a one cord plug and play and it was a lot less of a hassle to set up and these sorts of things. That will be definitely, no outbox or whatever they call it, nothing like that. I'm going to presume that it'll be plug and play USB-C top of your front of your console. I'm going to assume hope.
See, I hope so, but on the other hand, that's going to be so easy to pull out by accident.
Depends on the core, depends on the length. Like, obviously, if it's...
Maybe you just lock it into... You got some sort of clamp system?
I don't know. I mean...
You like lock it into the PlayStation.
If you
got all those vents.
If it's long enough and you've got enough, enough cord that you're never gonna be pulling on the console, then I guess not. But I don't know. Because the Oculus Link cable, that is USB-C to USB-C, PC to headset. So that's another plug and play into your PC USB-C. So that's why I'm kind of presuming it's going to be that, and that'll make most sense. Plus, USB-C is obviously the fastest connection port that we have available on the PS5. So I'd find it weird if they're going to say, I know there is fast USB 3.1 slots, or whatever, on the back, 3.1A slots on the back, but the USB slot makes no sense. Yeah, and it's at the back. It's like, if you want to make this thing the best, plug and play in the front, one cord, that's the fucking bee's knees. Most importantly, though, of this reveal, and the thing that stuck out the most was that they said that PlayStation Move controllers, Gonski. Thank Lord, PlayStation himself, that they are going to be gone. Because boy God, how long have we been talking about those PlayStation Move controllers just being absolute shit. Like, they are the worst. They are. You're eating a dead apple playing those things. Like, you just know that they're well past their due date and you're still using it for some reason. So instead, PlayStation is working on a brand new VR controller that will incorporate some of the critical features of the DualSense. They didn't say exactly what these were, but of course it's exciting to think that you'll be able to play VR with brand new controllers that are using adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, all that sort of stuff that the DualSense has. I feel like that could add a lot to a VR controller and a lot to the immersion of a game you're playing. Because I know we haven't had like a heap of experience with those features on the PS5 currently, but with what we have, especially in the examples most prominent in something like Astro's Playroom, you go, okay, well, you're playing a VR game, you're climbing a mountain, you can feel the dirt. Like I feel like a lot of these examples that people were talking about prior to the PS5 of like you can feel the rain and stuff, and we played it and was like, yeah, you can feel the rain, and it feels really cool when you're playing Astro's Playroom. You can feel the patter, 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 and you're like, that's really cool. You go through the mud, you're like, that feels really cool. But of course, you're sitting there playing in front of your TV. It's not like complete, like, oh, I'm in the game all of a sudden. However, you take all of that sort of stuff, put it in a controller. I think that's the true game changer there. I actually think that all of those features in a controller could be the big thing for this headset, personally. I feel like everything else they're talking about, one cord, plug and play, cool. Better resolution, all this sort of stuff, everything you'd fucking expect, nothing mind-blowing. I feel like if they want this to compete and be something up there that people are like, oh, I have a PSVR 2 plus an Oculus, because the reason will be the controller in coordination with the games that are using that controller. They'll give you really unique games and experiences that you just simply cannot get on Oculus or anything like that. So, how do you feel about the news?
It's pretty great. I don't expect it to be here anytime soon, but we can finally put those Move controls to the West. It's crazy that they survived the entire PS4 life cycle.
Technically, it's still part of this life cycle because you have to use them to play your PSVR on your PS5. So,
yeah, but there's no PS5 VR games, so technically PS4 games. But yeah, sooner the better. But it's probably going to be a while away. I don't expect it to be. I mean, the one cord is like a massive simplification of the system. It'll make it so much easier. If you don't need to use a camera, this could be a massive plus as well. It doesn't need to be like, I don't think we're going to get 60 frames per second 4K for the headset. But, enough that it's at a reasonable price, and most people, it'll be easier for people to get into VR.
If I had to guess / hope without going crazy, I would expect the PSVR 2 when it's released to be as good, like visually in it, like tech features wise, as good as the Oculus Quest 2, which is what's out currently.
Well, it has to.
Yes.
It has to at least meet that.
Exactly. That's,
Honestly, it needs to be better because it'll be out 2 years after, at least. And you would assume Quest 3 would be around the corner.
Possibly, yeah. I feel like they can get away with some technical limitations because they're like, well, it's a lot cheaper. You only need a console. Because that was a lot of the thing they sold the original on. Like, it's a lot cheaper. It doesn't cost you $1,000. If you're already on a PlayStation, it's a cheaper investment way to get into VR. And, it was like $500 or whatever, but it was like half the price of, especially because you needed a like $3,000 PC as well. So the price difference was a valid point and will continue to be a valid point because you still obviously need really good PC to play like Steam VR. However, their main competition is Oculus and is the Oculus Quest, because if anyone's asking me now what should I get to play VR, my answer is going to be, well, you should get an Oculus Quest 2 because it's like $600. It has no cables. It has really great games on it. The controllers are really good. Visually, it looks fantastic. It's cheaper than the original headset. Somehow, I'm still shocked by all of this. So much better, So they really need to be able to fight with the Oculus Quest 2 to play in the VR space. And I guess the other thing, like Move control's gone, great. One cord cable, great. Number one thing though, they need to announce a lot when they officially announce this in a state of play or whatever. When they officially show us what it looks like and whatever, they need to really set the nail on the head in that conference, in that state of play, where they go, here are all the games coming, launch day, launch year, whatever. Like, and a bunch of them need to be PlayStation devs or co-branded, like they really need to shove some support behind this thing, because I know we've talked about it on here before how PlayStation, as much as Shuhei was like, we're treating this like another console, we're going to treat it that way, it's important to us, blah, 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 blah. It seemed like that at launch. It seemed like that maybe for the first year, but they it really lost to the side, and maybe you could be like, well, that's because the PS5, like, and they had to switch their focus, and I guess to a degree you can understand it, but there really was nothing for PSVR. Like once Iron Man released, it was like, what the fuck? What does anyone who's excited about PSVR get excited about? And it's like, there's nothing. And there's going to be nothing for this entire year because there's no way they're going to continue releasing PSVR new games. So I think they've fucked it a little bit because they've got no games coming. They're not going to announce any games. They've got this coming. I'm going to say next year because dev kits are out now. So I'm going to say this will come out next year. Probably mid earliest, more likely late next year, about Christmas time or whatever. But yeah, they kind of fucked it because any momentum or stuff they had from PSVR to go into a PSVR 2, it feels like they're just going to be starting again. You know, they have to kind of start the cycle in marketing and explanation as to why you'd buy PSVR 2 like they never even had a first one. Yeah, so we shall see though.